Hello everybody, welcome back to Compass and Layouts. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a square to rectangle transition. So like this. We'll be working with a 4 by 4 square transitioning to a 3 by 7 rectangle. And we're going to give it a 6-inch height. So like so. Not from here, but from here. So 6 inches. And by the time we get done, we'll be producing these to make that. Alright, let's get to it. Alright, let's go ahead and start off by making the 4x4 square. And we're going to be using the grid method. Meaning that we're going to be exaggerating the lines or overextending the lines to make the both shapes of the square by square to square and rectangle. So the 4x4 square and the 3x7 rectangle. One, two, three, four. So there's our 4x4 square. I'm going to do an offset on both horizontal and vertical, or vertically 3 inches from center to center, meaning from the center of the square to the center of the rectangle, both vertically and horizontally. 3 inches. So here's the center of our square, and I'll move her 3 inches to the right. 1, 2, 3. So that's the center line of our 7-inch. I want to go 1, 2, 3.5. Back to center. 1, 2, 3.5. That makes 7. And do the same thing on this side. Center of our square. 1, 2, 3. That's the center of our 7-inch. 1, 2, 3.5. Back to center. 1, 2, 3.5. Okay. That is 7 inches from here to here. 7 inches. Now I want to go from the center of our square 3 inches down and then find our 3-inch, which is going to be right here. So here's our center. 1, 2, 3. I want to go 1.5. Center 1.5, Okay. Okay, so that should be 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. Do the same thing. Center of our square, 1, 2, 3. That's the center of our 3-inch. 1.5. Center, 1.5. Okay. All right. So we have our 7 by 3 inch. 7 here, 3 inch there. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see through this. I'll highlight really quick on the monitor so you guys can see the shape. Okay, now let's go ahead and label these. So this is what we're going to be doing. So what we drew here is basically a view of it this way. So you're looking at your 3 by 7, which is right here, and then you're looking down and the square has shifted over to one side, and then this is a square, which is what you see right here. So this is the top, which is there. This would be the bottom, which is here, and then on the rectangle side you have these two corners, which is here, and then these two corners right here, which is that. Okay. All right, so what we're going to be doing is labeling them just like what you see right here. So let's start off with the rectangle. We're going to label this right here A, this one B, here C, and then D. We're going to do the same thing on the square top, on the square side. So A, B, C, and D. So here's our square. We're going to label it as A, B, C, and D. Alright? Alright, now let's go ahead and get a true length triangle going, because we're going to give it a 6-inch height. So that's from here to here, 6 inches. Okay, so we want to go 6 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's our 6-inch height. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to try to connect both shapes, corners, from one another. So in this case, as you can see right here, what we're going to do is try to get the corner from B, the rectangle, to the B on the side of the square 4x4. So we'll do that on all corners right here, from rectangle to square. So here's what we're going to be doing. Let's get the distance from A to A. So this is the bottom corner of the rectangle A to the bottom corner of the square right here. So let's get these 2 points. Put your sharp point on A on the bottom corner of the rectangle to the other A on the bottom corner of our square. We're going to lock it in place like so. Transfer that over to your true length triangle. Strike an arc. And you're going to call this A to A, because it's from A of the rectangle to A of the square. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the top corner of the rectangle B to the top corner of the square B. So that would be from here, which is there, to there, which is there. Gonna lock it in place like so. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, let's go ahead and transfer it over to our true length triangle. Strike an arc. You're gonna call this B to B. Again, that's the distance from B, from here, to the other B, which is right there on the top of the square. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the other corner of our rectangle, which is going to be C to C and D to D. So let's start it with C to C. C to C is right here on the top corner of the rectangle. And we're going to open up our compass to this C on the top corner of the square, which is there. We're going to lock it in place. Okay. Put your sharp point on your true length triangle. Strike an arc, and that is now C to C. Okay, last one. Let's do this corner, the bottom corner of the rectangle, which is D, to the bottom corner of the square, which is this other D. Put your sharp point on one D and open up your pencil point to the other D. And I'll lock it in place like so. Put your sharp point on your true length triangle. Strike an arc. You're going to call this, oops, D to D. Alright, now we can have some fun. Let's begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to establish starting points so that we know where to finish our end points. And what I mean by starting points is where you're going to put your compass, your sharp point. So for instance, on this corner here, to try to find this other corner of the square as your ending point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start my starting points based off of the 7x3 rectangles, so which are going to be these 2 points. So I know that here, this corner here represents this line, and then this corner here represents this line right here, which is 7 inches. See that? 7 inches and 7 inches. So I'm going to go from here, from A, I want to go 1 inch down. It doesn't have to be 1 inch, you can go either way, just as long as you start off of this line. And then I'm going to box that line to represent my starting point for my compass. I'm going to do the same thing on this line right here, which is going to be this corner. I'm going to go 1 inch down. I'm going to box it in, and that's going to be my symbol again, so that I know where to put my starting point, sharp point on my compass, and then try to reach out to try to finish the end point on the square. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off by doing, let's go ahead and do the, let's see, hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, so I think you guys can see that pretty well. Okay, so let's go ahead and start off by making this top portion of the transition. So let's go and look for B to B. B to B is right here. Get your sharp point, put it on that arc on B to B, open up your pencil point to your 6 inch height mark. We're going to lock it in place like so. Okay, my sharp point, starting point, is going to be right here on B, which is right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to reach to try to find the end point of this corner of the square B, which is going to be on this line, which is what this represents, because that's where B's at. So I'm going to strike an arc, and there you go. Okay, so now we found this corner. Now let's go ahead and find that. So let's go C to C, which is right here. Sharp point on C to C. Open up your pencil point to your 6-inch height mark. We're gonna lock it in place like so. Okay, I'm gonna put my starting point now here, which is this corner right there. Okay, now what we want to do is reach and try to find this other corner of the square, which we know that from here to here is 4 inches, and that's what this line represents. So you're gonna strike an arc right there, and that's it. So this is the pattern for that, and hopefully if this was made correctly, it'll match these 4 points. And there you go. So as you can see, those are our starting points, which is B and C on the 3x7 rectangle. And these are our endpoints for B to C and B and C for the 4x4 square, which is right there. Okay, pretty good. Let's go ahead and see if we can do a match. And there you go. Pretty easy, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and do the bottom side. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to flip this around. And this might be confusing, but if you think about it, it's really not at the same time. Let me see if I can position it in a better way. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to make our starting points. In this case, our starting point is going to be A, which is going to be here again. And then we're going to do starting point D, which is going to be also here as well. So let's go ahead and do A to A first. Get your compass, put your sharp point on A to A. Open it up to your 6-inch height mark. We're going to lock that in place. Okay, starting point A on the bottom corner of the 3x7 rectangle is going to be right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to move on over to this other side of the A of the square shape. So we're going to strike an arc like so. So that now this arc right here represents this point right here. Okay, now let's go ahead and do this side, D. So do the same process. Put your sharp point on D, D to D. Open it up to your 6-inch height mark. And we're going to lock it in place like so. Okay, we're going to start with our starting point D, which is right here, which is this corner here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to shift over to the left and try to find the bottom corner of the 4x4 square on D, which represents this line right here. And there you go. And let's get a pattern going, see if it matches. So if everything was done correctly, this should match our starting points to our end points. So there you go. Pretty easy, right? Okay, let's go ahead and confirm and see if it matches. This is the bottom portion. Pretty easy, right? Okay, let's keep going. Now let's go ahead and let's do this side right here. So now we're going to do the left side, I guess you can call it. So again, what we're going to do is establish some starting points. So again, I'm going to go and start the starting points based off the 3x7 shape. So in this case, it's from here to here, which is 3 inches. 3 inches, and I'm going to go ahead and do that right here, because right here is our 3-inch rectangle. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go from here 1 inch. Doesn't really matter, you can go further left or right, doesn't really matter. And I want to go right here 1 inch. I'm going to box this up so that I can give myself a symbol as to where the starting points are. So this is the starting point for B, and this is a starting point for A. And that would be the same thing would apply for starting point C, which is here, and starting point D, which would be here. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by doing this side right here. So let's go ahead and start the top portion of B to B. So put your sharp point on B to B, right there. Open it up to your 6-inch height mark. We're gonna lock it in place like so. Okay, I'm gonna put my sharp point on my starting point B, which is right here. And then I know that this goes up to the other B of the square, 4x4 square, which is going to be this line right here. So I'm going to strike an arc right there. Okay, so now we found this point, which is that right there. Now let's go ahead and find A to A. So go to A. Open it up to your 6-inch height mark. We're going to lock it in place. Okay. Sharp point, now we're going to start it at A on the 3x7 rectangle, which is going to be here, because from here to here is 3 inches. And then we're going to go slightly up to try to find the bottom corner of the 4x4 square, which is going to be this line here. So we're going to strike an arc, and there you go. Let's go ahead and get a pattern and see if we can make it match. And if everything was done correctly, this should match starting points and end points. See that? Pretty easy. So this goes here. Pretty easy, right? Okay, now let's go ahead and finish the other side. Let's go ahead and do this side right here. So again, we're going to make our starting points based off of the 3x7 square, or rectangle I mean. So from C and D. So this corner right here is D, and then this corner is the top corner of the 3x7 rectangle, which is C. And we're going to shoot up to try to find C, and then shoot up again from D to try to find D as well. Okay, let's begin. Let's go ahead and do D to D. Put your compass on D to D. Open it up to your 6-inch height mark. We're going to lock it in place like so. Okay, we're going to put our sharp point on D, which is here. And now we're going to go up to try to find the bottom corner of the 4x4 square, which is going to be this line right here. So we're going to strike an arc. So now you found this point, which is this corner of the 4x4 square. Okay, now let's go find C to C. Again, put your sharp point on C to C. Open it up to your 6-inch height mark. We're going to lock it in place. Okay, now what we're going to do is put our sharp point on C, which is going to be right here. So this point is the top corner of the 3x7 rectangle, and now we're going to go up to try to find the 4x4 square, which is going to be this line here, because that's where C is at. And there's your arc. So now this represents this. Let's go ahead and get that pattern and see if it matches. So that would be this. So these are our starting points, and these are our end points. And there it is. Pretty easy, right? Simple. So this should be this side right here, as you can see. So pretty simple. So this is, I like doing it this way. This is the grid method, meaning you make a mess out of, or exaggerate the lines based on the shapes that you make, but at the same time it helps you because you know where you're going to strike, or how far you need to strike the finishing arcs starting from the starting points. So as you can see, you really just need 2 sets of starting points. The horizontal starting points right here, so that you can make both your your left and your right, or vice versa, and then this other set of starting points to do the top and the bottom of your transition. So it's really simple. Now, just for a bonus, this is really simple, but say for instance you wanted to add a flange like so. All you have to do is just add 1 inch at the end of your endpoints, or in this case, in my case, I added 1 inch, but it doesn't have to be 1 inch. You can go either 1.5 or 2 inches, so that you can make this. So just so that you guys can kind of get an idea of what it would look like. Say for instance, this is the top portion of it, like so. So this goes here. You see that? Now if you want to add 1 inch or add more of an extension to it, then you just simply add 1 inch. So in this case I would do something like this, and then right here I can go 1 inch, and then I can make my line so that you can kind of get the shape or see the shape. And this goes like so. Again, this is just an example. And then from here we go to the starting point like so, and the same thing would be on this side, from the end point to the starting point. So as you can see, it would look like that. And then this from here to here is 1 inch, which represents this right here. So that's all you really need to do. You can do the same thing on the ends, on the starting points. You can add 1 inch or 2 inches so that you can get, flange fit into the rectangle side. And just like always, as I repeated on other videos on square to square or transitions, that you don't necessarily have to make your starting points on the big side. You can actually make your starting points the smaller side. So there's no rule on that. It'll work either way. But that's just basically how I roll as far as making these types of layouts. So that is pretty much it. Hope you guys liked this video, and I hope this wasn't very confusing. And yeah, if you felt like this was confusing, I would probably suggest maybe looking at the easier ones, which are just regular standard square to square transitions. And if you have any ideas, shoot them on comments. Let me know, and maybe I can make some adjustments. But I figured this was one way to show you guys how to make extreme transitions, and they're really not that difficult. It just takes practice. Alright, so that is pretty much it for this video. Hope you guys liked it and you found value in it. And if you know of a friend or a co-worker that can benefit from this and learn from it to better themselves and make it easy at work, go ahead and share it. Let's get more people start learning how to do these layouts. Other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.